Now, the Metropolitan Police is under fire after an officer was filmed telling a Jewish man his presence was antagonising at a pro-Palestine march in London.
You are quite openly Jewish. This is a pro-Palestinian march. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I'm worried about the reaction to your presence.
In the video shared by the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism from Saturday's march, the Met officer then appears to threaten to arrest the man if he failed to remove himself.
You lot of people here now, you've been escorted out of this area so you can go about your business, go where you want it freely, or if you choose to remain here because you are causing a breach of peace with these other people, you will be arrested.
If I remain here, you will arrest me.
Because your presence here is antagonising a large group of people, and we can't deal with all of them if they attack you or if they because your presence is antagonising them.
Well, the man says he was simply trying to cross the road after going to a synagogue, only to be told that his presence was antagonising. Well, Gideon Falter joins us now. He's the chief executive at the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism. And Gideon, this is the most extraordinary story. I had to rewatch the video several times to sort of almost understand what the police officer was saying there.
I mean, it just beggars belief, doesn't it?
And he's effectively saying to you there at the end when he says that he'll arrest you if you refuse to remove yourself. Isn't he effectively saying that he's going to arrest you simply for being Jewish in the wrong place at the wrong time?
I mean, this is exactly the thing. Basically, I was told, not just by the officers in the video, but actually there were other officers as well, that I was committing a breach of the peace, a breach of the King's peace, by staying where I was, that they were worried for my safety, that they were worried for their ability to actually maintain order if I stayed in the area, that I had to leave via a route that they would decide for me under escort or face arrest. And this is basically the inevitable conclusion of Sir Mark Rowley's decision to curtail the rights of law-abiding Londoners to appease a lawless mob. And there were people in that protest who didn't have any problem with a Jewish person being there, but there were quite a few clearly who did. And I was having all sorts of abuse shouted at me. I was the one who was surrounded by police officers. I was the one threatened with arrest. The people who were shouting abuse were not arrested, as far as I know. Very few of them seemed to even attract the attention of the police. There was one point where there was a man standing right behind me saying, "I'm going to walk wherever you go. I'm going to follow you around, not because I support you. I don't support you. I'm not afraid of you people." That's what I was being told by him, right next to a police officer. And the police officer simply turned to him and said, "I don't think you're having a very productive conversation with the gentleman." That was it.
This is definitely not the first time, is it, that the police have focused on those people that they think might be the victims of harassment? Because soon after October the 7th, the Campaign for Anti-Semitism had that billboard bus going around Westminster and Parliament Square. And the same thing happened then, didn't it?
Yeah, it's the second time I've been stopped by police in that way. When we were driving around Parliament Square, we had billboard vans which were showing the faces of children who'd been kidnapped by Hamas. And police told us to shut down the vans and get out of London. They held me whilst they made sure that the van drivers shut the billboards off. And the reason for that is they were afraid that the pictures of these children would offend the sensibilities of people in the streets of London who they were clearly afraid of. The fact is that time it was a wet Wednesday night. There was no one around. It was quiet as anything. And they were just worried about who might appear. This time, obviously, people were around. But we keep being told by Sir Mark Rowley that he is going to ruthlessly enforce to the letter of the law. Those are his words. That's what he keeps telling us. And the idea is supposed to be that London is absolutely safe for Jews or anybody else whilst these marches are happening week after week. But the reality is that the Met Police, if they feel that there is a threat, which they very clearly do, will essentially enforce a Jew-free zone around these protests and order Jewish people who aren't on the protests to get out of the area for their own safety face arrest. That's what London has come to, and that's what Sir Mark Rowley has brought us to, and he needs to be held to account.
It is absolutely shocking. I mean, even the words that the police officers are using in the clip, they do beg a belief, as you say. But what do you say to those who say that there are people who go on these marches, some of them, who are Jewish themselves? Some people on the marches do wear kippahs, and you will often see on social media those who are the most effusively in favour of these marches happening every single Saturday through our capital city. They'll say, look, there are some Jewish people on this march.
I mean, look, all I know is that I was in the area trying to walk, and I was told that it was not safe for me to do so because I was Jewish. And it's not just the police who were saying that. There were people walking around, they didn't know anything about me. They could just see a person walking around in a kippah, a skull cap, and they were shouting, disgusting, lock him up, scum, Zionist, Nazi. They were just shouting and ranting and raving. And those are the people who definitely would not be happy in the presence of a Jew. And I know because I was a Jew in their presence. And those are the people who are on some of these marches.
Gideon, how did the Jewish community feel about this, particularly here in London? Do they feel that the police are almost targeting them, and that certainly the police wouldn't protect them because it's a case of your responsibility to stay away from those who might attack you? Rather than, as we saw with the arrest of a man holding a sign that said Hamas are terrorists, them choosing to arrest him rather than to focus on those who might attack him. Does the Jewish community feel that the police are just simply unwilling to properly protect them and to uphold the law?
I mean, the deal always with the Jewish community essentially has been that we are brought up to have two words to say to police officers: thank you. That's it. We are law-abiding. We obey police officers when they give us instructions. The idea of walking along the street and being detained by a police officer in our community would be really a source of shame. And all of our community, pretty much all of our community, is here as a result of a flight from tyranny, whether it be the Nazis or pogroms in Russia or pogroms against and persecution of Jews in the Middle East and North Africa. That's where the Jewish community of Britain has come from, largely. And for us to be walking around in a country where we feel that this country stands for tolerance and decency, and where there is sort of policing by consensus and consent, to be walking around and being told by police officers, multiple police officers, you're too openly Jewish, get out of the area, otherwise we're going to arrest you, I think is something that is really galling. And, you know, you asked how the community is feeling. It's been 6 months now, 6 months of this happening practically every single weekend. You never know where these marches are going to be. They constantly change the route. Whole swathes of London become shut down by these marches. And we are just being asked to basically stay home on Saturdays. Don't go out into the street. Don't make a fuss. Don't be too openly Jewish. And it's a betrayal, because the Jewish community has always felt that we are law-abiding, we thrive in this country as Londoners, as Jews in cities all over the UK. And we just believe that we are protected as everybody else. And the actual truth of it, under Sir Mark Rowley's Metropolitan Police Service, is that there is this betrayal going on. We've been thrown under the bus in order to appease lawless mobs.
Well, it's a case you put across incredibly powerfully. Gideon Falter, thank you so much for making the time for putting your case across and sharing your story. It is the most remarkable event that has happened, and sadly all too common, it seems. Gideon Falter there, the Chief Executive at the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism. The Metropolitan Police spokesman has said, "We are aware of this video and fully acknowledge the worry it has caused, not only to those featured but also to anyone who watches it, and will review the circumstances. We have always said that we recognise the conflict between Israel and Hamas continues to be an issue of concern to many Londoners, and this includes the regular protests and marches in central London. Everyone has the right to travel throughout the capital in safety." So that is the comment there from the Metropolitan Police on that video that we just watched.